Hey everyone, it's Miss Fusaro. So um I wanted to record this video about the lesson from the previous cycle just to make sure that you actually got all the information, and this way you can actually refer back to this lesson when necessary and use this video instead of spending the time discussing it in class, because I really want you guys to spend time in class actually talking about your creation project. If you look at the end of day 1 of 2 from the origin lesson, this would normally be, as you could see, an exit ticket. Obviously, during this time, I didn't ask for this to be the exit ticket, but the question is like, from darkness and from death, love was born. And with its birth, order and beauty began to banish blind confusion. Love created light with its companion, radiant day. And I ask, like, what is the essence of this concept? Why is the essence of this concept absolutely essential to the survival of humanity? And what I really want you to glean from this is that out of darkness and death, which is considered quote unquote, and I'm putting in quotation marks with my fingers, evil, love is born. So from these things that are considered bad, then you still have love. There's still the production of love. And it creates a couple of things. It creates the dichotomy of existence, meaning like there is the great balance. Like there is no love without darkness. There is no darkness without love and light. There has to be both of these things in order for both of them to exist. Because I mean, if you think about it on the flip end, if there is just love all the time, then there is no great feeling of like passion or presence or friendship or relationship, whatever type of love you're referring to. Like there's no surge, there's none of that emotion. Like, if everybody loved everybody always, it wouldn't have any meaning. On the flip end of it, if it was always just darkness and despair, and that would also eventually lose its meaning. It's the opposite of existence which creates the meaning. Also, it's supposed to give us the tender feeling of hopefulness, the idea that from these things that are so awful, you can still make good. That there is still hope even out of darkness and death, that there's something that is positive meant to come out of it. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood that as like, as far as the essential, to the survival of humanities, because we need this hope. We need this feeling of love and presence, that we can actually come out of our darkness, because that's why we get up every morning. That they're living for a better day, believing that even though yesterday, let's say, was terrible, we can make today something good. There's still always an access point for change. And it's true. It's true. We don't have to be judged. We don't have to be based on what we were yesterday. Every day really is a new chance. Every moment is a new chance. And the second thing I wanted to make sure that you really understood was from the do now of what would have been the second part of the lesson. It's like, how does the Judeo Christian story of the Garden of Eden compare with Greek creation? How about even Pandora? Why are women always the root of all evil? And as you could see in the question, I have that in quotation marks. So the first thing that you would need to do if you're unfamiliar is obviously look up the Old Testament Genesis, the book of Genesis, which is the creation stories, the creation of the universe in the Judeo-Christian belief system, and then the creation of mankind, which is the creation of Adam and Eve. So, according to the Old Testament, um, God created Adam, and he was in Eden. Eden is paradise, and then from Adam's rib, God created Eve, and now you have Adam and Eve both in paradise in the Garden of Eden, and they have access and free range to the entire garden, anywhere they want to go in this paradise, except one particular tree. And God says to them, "You can eat anywhere, you can go anywhere, you can do anything, but you are not permitted to eat from this one particular tree." And that's the only way, that you can survive and stay in this realm. And it became known as the tree of knowledge. So, to the accord that Adam and Eve didn't understand was that the tree of knowledge was actually the knowledge of evil, of shame, of darkness, of cruelty, of all the things that were bad and non-existent in paradise. Well, Eve was by the tree one day, this beautiful tree, the tree of knowledge, and there was a serpent. And on the serpent says to Eve, like, "Why don't you eat an apple from this tree?" And Eve initial response was like, "Well, no, God instructed us that we're not supposed to eat from this particular tree." And serpent's like, "Well, that's because God doesn't want you to have the same knowledge as Him. He doesn't want you to know all the things that He does. But why not? Why shouldn't you have that knowledge?" And it seemed like a reasonable argument to Eve. So Eve took the bite from the apple, and then she gave Adam and told him to take a bite from the apple. And then after they did bite it, they did acquire the knowledge. They acquired the knowledge of shame, of darkness, of all the things that were of evil in the world. And then God had to banish them from paradise because they, having that knowledge, they can no longer be in paradise. So He banishes them from paradise, and they take a fall, the literal metaphorical fall from grace to earth. And that's where they understood shame. And then they had to clothe themselves, and Eve had to started to she felt pain of childbirth and all the bad things that happened in humanity. So the belief system there is that Eve was the root of all evil because she was the first one to take the bite from the apple. And then you have in the story of Pandora, as you guys read, Pandora was told not to like open this box, but of course, because she's too curious, as she opens the box, and like all of these things fly out into the world, and the only thing that gets trapped is hope. So like there's two ways to look at that, is that like the only thing left that people have is hope, or the only thing that doesn't make it out into the world is hope. It all depends on perspective. Either argument works. But the question comes down really to the feminist conversation about like, why are women considered the root of all evil? And what I want you guys to actually recognize is that it actually comes down to sexuality. And it was how they maintain the patriarchal structure to ensure that the paternity belonged to the actual biological paternity. And so what that means is, if you think about it, biological DNA tests, like paternity tests, didn't really come out until recently in scientific discovery. I believe it's in the 80s. And so before that, there was actually no guaranteed way to ensure the paternal lineage. But because it's a patriarchal society, it is the man who passes down his inheritance. It's the man who passes down his name, his lands, his goats, his whatever. And so for all of time, there's no question, no doubt, when a mother is a mother, like literally she's carrying a child. But you could always question and doubt if a father is the father, especially before there was any DNA testing. And so, like, you don't know if your wife went to go visit down with the goat herder down in the farm, or took a visit from the milkman, or whatever the case is. However, whatever jokes you want to make about it, but culturally, that's how you actually maintain control for women. You made them seem like, with these stories, their curiosity is the destruction of mankind. And it implies back to their sexual curiosity. They must stay virgins. They must stay pure. They must stay only with the man who owns them. And it's really to ensure the patriarchal lineage, that you're not passing on your lands and deeds to titles, whatever, to a child that is not yours. So it is so culturally entrenched that even till today, you have this idea, this concept of quote unquote, like slut shaming and these things where you make women feel lesser because of sexuality. And this is the root of it. This is where it comes from. It was ensuring that patriarchal structure. If you have any questions, of course, bring them up in class. But hopefully this clarifies two of the important aspects from last week's lesson. Thank you.